Hello and welcome to the third annual.
Hi.
The third annual Remy's Music and Film Blog Film Review.
That's pretty good.
I'm here with one of the greatest people I've ever met, Gavin Fitzgerald, who's a filmmaker, so he's a good person to have when you're talking about films. Spots things that I don't spot. But enough of about Gavin. We're basically going to go through what we've done the last 2 years, go through 5 films each that we both really enjoyed but might have kind of fallen under the radar. We're not going to talk about box office films because, you know, you've probably all seen them all, so there's no point in recommending films that everyone knows about.
Wicked, wicked, jungle is massive. Wicked, wicked.
I'm going to kick off with X and Y. It's a film about a young maths genius who has autism, has been raised by his mother, and it's starring Asa Butterfield, who is previously was in The Boy with Stripy Pajamas, or is it Striped Pajamas? Striped Pajamas, Stripy. What's the difference? You know what the pajamas look like. And Stripy, yeah, and also in Hugo, and it also stars Rafe Spall, who was in The Life of Pi, and the Shaun of the Dead, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost trilogy, all those films. But the basic story is he is incredibly socially awkward even with his peers, and he, a very neurotic child, can't interact with people at all. It's kind of painful to watch, uncomfortable at times.
Asperger's.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and even his you know, his mother does everything she can to make his life as easy as possible, but he is very cold to her, and that's obviously not deliberate. It's, you know, that's but he, you know, an example would be where when he was like 5, and it shows a scene where she asks him, like, you know, she goes, "Oh, I can help you with your homework," and he just looks at her blankly and goes, "Oh, but you're not clever enough," you know, little things like that. You know, I don't want to give away too much, but it's a very kind of powerful film, and it's you know, it follows him growing up to his early teens, and he ends up going on a kind of international maths competition, and he realizes while he's there that he's not actually the most intelligent person in the world, like in terms of maths, and that has an effect on him as well. But I'll leave it at that. But it's definitely probably the top one of the 5 I'm going to mention that you should definitely check out.
Wicked, wicked, jungle is massive. Wicked, wicked.
My first one is called Force Majeure. It's about a Swedish family who go on a skiing holiday in the French Alps. So the setup is they're having lunch on a terrace when a controlled avalanche comes too close for comfort. So Thomas, the father's instincts are to flee, leaving his wife to protect his 2 children. So basically, Thomas scarpers in the face of danger, leaving his family behind. And first day of the holiday, things aren't going so well.
Just a legger.
Yeah, just legs it.
Yeah.
So obviously his mind is elsewhere. He's always on the phone talking to people, business related. And, so the children cop on that their mother and father are having relationship problems, etc. And that's kind of where the story is. It's a relationship film. So what I liked about it, well, first of all, it's a black comedy, and I think you have to kind of notice that when you're watching it.
Okay.
Because it's a little cruel and kind of but it's actually I just kind of see the funny side of it.
Yeah.
So the one recognisable face in it, actor wise, is a guy from Game of Thrones, Christopher Hivju. He's a big bearded guy, one of the wildlings in Game of Thrones. You'd recognise. But besides that, they're kind of unknown actors, and you can tell how much preparation went into rehearsal went into making the film, because it just feels so natural. And the other thing I say about the film is that it uses so few shots. They just let the action play out. It's really it takes a lot of confidence to do that. So what they did is they actually shot it over 60 days.
Okay.
So basically you're talking, you know, nearly like 2 shots a day kind of thing. And they just got it really right.
Wicked, wicked, jungle is massive. Wicked, wicked.
My second film is a film that I really loved. Wasn't really expecting much from, but Kevin Bacon was in it, and I love Kevin Bacon, so you know, he was the woodsman. You know, Cop Car. It's it kind of reminded me of one of those kind of cheesy 80s films that were so bad they were good. You know, that probably got really bad reviews when they came out, but now everyone buys the Blu-ray of a 25th anniversary and all that.
Yeah, the title would throw you, Cop Car.
Yeah, Cop Car. It's kind of like a game kids play when they're 8 or something. Like Cowboys and Indians, but it's a great film. I found really entertaining. An unusual kind of role for Kevin Bacon to take on. It seemed relatively low budget. Basically, story is these 2 kids who are kind of, excuse my francais, the 2 little shits. You're not gunning for them in the film. You know, you don't hope that things work out well for them. But the 2 kids find an supposedly abandoned cop car, and they manage to. They're about like 9 or 10. They manage to get the old car going and go for an old joyride. And when Kevin Bacon finds out that his car is missing, gets very tense about it, very agitated. So you kind of go, isn't it? Yeah,
you cop, you lose your gun or your
car. But he's not. It's not like, oh no, where's my car? You know,
dude,
there's something more to it than that. Like, he's like a bit of a crooked cop, and he has that kind of like, you know, got a bit of a drink problem look about him.
Wicked, wicked. Jungle is massive. Wicked, wicked.
My next one is a horror film for horror film fans. Obviously, a lot of people don't like horror films. There's so many pussies out there who just cannot watch a horror film.
What's wrong with you?
And I find the reason why critics don't like horror films is because they distance themselves when they're watching it and going like, oh, that's stupid. Like, you know, you can't. That's not scary. And they don't actually in a horror film, you have to set up rules on what happens in a story, and you just kind of have to just wing with it. You know, you have to suspend disbelief for the film. But It Follows was genuinely scary.
Yeah.
So basically, the setup is first of all, I would say it's refreshing to see a horror film that wasn't a remake or a sequel.
Yeah.
It's an original film with a really, really good score. It feels kind of 80s sort of vibe to it.
Yeah.
So basically, a teenage girl has sex with a guy, and afterwards he tells her that this thing is now going to follow her. So somebody gave it to him, and now all she can do is pass along to the next person by having sex with them.
Okay.
A lot like an STD.
Yeah. Except everyone you still have.
Yeah, but this thing is basically, so as soon as the person has sex with that person, this entity, this supernatural force starts following them.
Okay.
Relentlessly, a bit like a zombie. Like it's not fast, but if you back yourself into a corner, it's gonna get there eventually.
Yeah.
So this thing like is following them,
it's gonna get you.
And so the entity is a human. Like it can be anybody, just a random dude, and suddenly he's just in a crowd coming towards you. So it's a cool theme.
Yeah.
It's tense and scary. Funnily enough, like talking about the rules of horror films and stuff, Quentin Tarantino wrote a little piece online or something. He was saying how he could fix the film.
Yeah.
Because he said it didn't follow it. It set up rules and it broke them. So you can always nitpick them. I thought it was funny, Quentin, going into that.
We told you we'd give you a shout out, Quentin.
Yeah.
There you go.
I liked Hateful Eight, Quentin. But yeah. So basically, last thing to say, I suppose it's a bit like I compare it to like Drive with Ryan Gosling if his car was a murderer.
Okay, yeah, I like that analogy. Yeah.
Wicked, wicked. Jungle is massive. Wicked, wicked.
My third film was probably one of my top 5 favorite actors ever in my lifetime. Bill Murray. Saint Vincent was the film. It was a proper comedy. It made me laugh a lot. You know, it's something strange about laughing in a room on your own, but I did. But the basic backdrop of the film is Bill Murray is a character who has given up on humanity and sees everyone as a problem except him, and he's basically, you know, gone headfirst into a kind of life of hedonism, where he's like drinking, gambling, going to strip clubs, whatever, but he can't afford it, so he's kind of constantly trying to, you know, find ways to fund this lifestyle. But I just loved his dry kind of, you know, responses to people. Like, he gets a new neighbour, which is Melissa McCarthy from Bridesmaids, and she turns up and she goes, "Hi, I'm your new neighbour," and he just goes, "So," you know, just like, and then he gets back to fixing something in his garden.
Yeah.
And basically the new neighbour has a young kid, and the young kid persistently is drawn to Bill Murray. Bill Murray hates children because he hates everybody in the world, and they develop a bond. And I was kind of going, oh yeah, this is kind of nice, kind of backdrop to the story and whatever. But as the film goes on towards the end, there you get there's an emotional involvement, and it's quite sad at the end. But there's lots of brilliant comedy in it, and I put it up there with two of my favourite Bill Murray films, which would be Groundhog Day and Lost in Translation, and you know, any of the Wes Anderson films he was in.
Wicked, wicked, jungle is massive. Wicked, wicked.
Yeah, my next film is Wild Tales, which is a Argentinian film. I have to give a shout out to my godmother, Anne Fitzgerald, who recommended this to me. It's basically a series of short stories in one film, and they're binded by the common theme of human cruelty.
Okay.
So there's been other films a bit like it. You may have come across Paris Je t'aime. I don't know if you remember that one, where they got all these, you know, mixture directors to direct short stories on love in Paris and love stories in Paris.
Yeah.
But this one was different. It was the actually director, writer, and editor Damien Sirfron. He did them, all 6 of them. Every single short story in it is great. I couldn't decide which one I liked the best. At the end, I was like, oh, it could have been that one. They're all excellent, and it's one that everybody can enjoy. If, like, you watch it with the family, and it's just really fun. That kind of bit of black comedy, cruel, but like just really well orchestrated. Pedro Almodovar, who's a well-known Spanish Argentinian Spanish
one of them
director, who
in Africa,
well known for a number of films over the years, if you know him.
Kiss
So
Kiss
he
Bang Bang.
he produced the film, so he produced it. So he's kind of, you can kind of see the influence of his style on it, I think, as well.
Wicked, wicked, jungle is massive. Wicked, wicked.
Yeah. So my next film, it's probably the most well known of the ones I have on the list, and it's a mixed reactions really. Is The Lobster with Colin Farrell. I liked before I went to see it, I liked the idea of the film, which is basically, it's set in the near future, but it's not like a futuristic film. Everything looks exactly like it does in 2016, or it could easily have been 20 years ago. There's no futuristic stuff in it at all. It's just
Shot in Ireland as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Irish landscape or whatever. But it's I don't know why I said that. But it's basically they have to, if you haven't found a partner for life by a certain age, you're sent off to these various country retreats, kind of like hotels, and you have, when you get there, you have 45 days to meet a partner, and if you don't meet a partner within the 45 days, you're turned into an animal. Now, a lot of people, when you explain that to them, they kind of go, God, that sounds really stupid idea for a film or whatever, but it's not really the most important part of it. But I think that the dialogue and the acting in it were just really good. It's kind of quite deadpan. The delivery of a quite shocking messages in it verbally were just as if, like, you know, it's like, oh yeah, and then I went and I just killed her, and you know, it was like talking about, I made a cup of tea. Colin Farrell was really good at you know, portraying that role, and there was a huge array of characters in it who were both kind of it was almost like they were all childlike in some way, but they were all very different. Some of them were quite aggressive, some were like manic, some were very irritating, but they were all like children who, you know, and maybe that's kind of an explanation of why they've ended up in that situation in the first place. But it's, yeah, I really loved it. I heard other people say that some people got up and walked out of the cinema because they hated it so much, but you know, I'm giving it a thumbs up.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you saw it as well.
He's did Dogtooth as well. If you haven't seen that one, it's his first one.
Yeah.
The director, similar kind of vibes.
Wicked, wicked, jungle is massive. Wicked, wicked.
My next one is one not to be watched with the parents, with the in-laws, or I don't know. She just basically. I'm sorry if I've tormented you by recommending this film, but I think it is fantastic. It's called Tangerine, and it was the director, writer, editor, cinematographer, everything. A guy called Sean Baker. So I've spent a bit of time in LA recently, and anybody who's been there will tell you, if you're riding one of those buses to downtown LA, or you turn down a certain street, you're gonna come across some crazies. You're gonna come across some of these. You know, you go into a 7-Eleven and there's these people just arguing like, "Hey, yo, you don't need no oven," and all this. You know, giving it that like, and
yeah.
it's all the stereotypes. It's just true, like. So Tangerine is basically an incredibly authentic day in the life of a transgender hooker.
Okay.
So it's actually it's set on Christmas Eve, funnily enough, but in LA it just looks like any other day.
Yeah.
It's just sunny all the time there. So the central character, her name is Cindy, spelled Sindee. Cindy. And she's just out of prison. Her best friend Alexandra, who's also transgender, tells her that her boyfriend and pimp Chester was cheating on her while she was away, and this causes Cindy to go on a mission to hunt Chester down and confront him over his infidelity.
Okay.
So the two protagonists are transgender in real life, because you just couldn't have acted it that well. It's excellent. I think the director came across them in a LGBT centre where he was looking to cast the film, and bumped into this pair, and he just had to put them in the film.
He knew.
He knew, and it's a comedy slash. Yeah, it's just mad.
Yeah.
You know, some of it's pretty real. The whole prostitution scene. It's
Yeah.
a bit dirty, but it's it's just very unique as well. I haven't seen anything like it, because I mean, LA. Most films are shot in LA, and you just haven't seen some of these locations even, or just just everything about it is original.
Yeah.
And you'd have to note the fact that it was all shot on an iPhone 5S.
Ah, I have one of them.
For a budget of $100,000.
Yeah.
So it just shows you what you can do.
That's and that's a very expensive iPhone, isn't it?
Wicked, wicked, jungle is massive. Wicked, wicked.
And my last highly recommending is Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, which stars Thomas Mann, who's kind of like he's a young actor, so he hasn't been in much, but he's in Project X, and also the young female lead who was Olivia Cooke, who's in the TV series Bates Motel based on Psycho. I haven't actually watched Bates Motel, but you know, I might at some stage. Get really desperate. But so basically the film, I kind of thought, like, you know, this is going to be one of these bad. It's actually the same makers of Juno, which I didn't realise until afterwards, but I thought it was going to be like a real bad, corny version of that kind of
indie
film. But like Hollywood going, oh, let's make it look indie, and so hipsters like beards and stuff will go and see it.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was basically he's this guy is a young he does remakes of classic films with his friend who is Earl. Thomas Mann is me. And he finds out that the girl in the film's title, Olivia Cooke, is who's a childhood friend. Like, he grew up with her. they're now in high school, but his parents tell him that she's just been diagnosed with cancer, and obviously a bond forms between them, and you're kind of going, oh yeah, it's kind of predictable. After 20 minutes of film, I know exactly what's going to happen, but you don't really. It keeps the kind of comic and humorous feel. But also, I have to mention the soundtrack is brilliant. It's mostly Brian Eno.
Nice.
Also, there's a bit of Lou Reed, Roy Orbison, Cat Stevens. It's a really, really great soundtrack.
Wicked, wicked, jungle is massive. Wicked, wicked.
So my last one then, to wrap up the
2015, done in 2016 as usual.
yeah. Right, is a documentary. It's called The Nightmare, and it's a documentary about sleep paralysis.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever had sleep paralysis. I've had little bits of it. Basically, it's when you're frozen in a dream state. Very scary because everything just seems more real.
Yeah.
Films like Nightmare on Elm Street and Insidious are supposed to be very realistic interpretations of what sleep paralysis is like.
It's very
for
lucid,
some people.
like it's
Very lucid, yeah. So some people have really deep, intense periods of sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Where, for example, one of the characters in the documentary, he from a young age he had these people called the shadow men follow him.
Okay.
And yeah, that kind of, when you hear the word shadow men, you're
creepy.
like, yeah, I kind of know what you mean. It's like the darkness is alive.
Yeah,
and there's
yeah.
this figure that just kind of looks over his bed, and is the shadow man, and just torments him. Other people see
It's
these aliens, which is a lot of people, a lot of accounts for like people being abducted and stuff like that are said that people feel like they're actually being abducted in a state of sleep paralysis. So this really deep condition and real.
Like it's like
this
their
dream world,
their
this psychological world.
Yeah, it's like they're under an anesthetic, but they're fully aware of what's going on.
Yeah, probably a lot like being under anaesthetic, right?
Yeah.
Had my wisdom tooth taken out a while ago, and it was like you're in this state of half awakeness.
Yeah.
But basically, what I liked about the film is so they shoot the interviews in a sort of a self-consciously creepy way.
Okay.
Kind of darkly lit, and the camera kind of moves in and moves out a bit. It's kind of creepy interviews, and then they have the recreations of what they're describing. And what's particularly interesting is the fact that some people from completely unconnected from across different parts of the world have the exact same
account of their experience.
See the exact same thing. So a common omen, bad omen, is like this cat with red eyes just laying on their partner's chest looking at them. And numerous people have seen this.
Weird.
And it just makes you think like there's sense in that world.
It's quite
It's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's our roundup of the films we recommend. We got the main 5 each that we definitely think you should check out. And we also have the extras there at the end. We'll list them all on the website. We'll pop them out on both of our Twitter accounts and Bookface and all the rest of that jazz. And
look forward to this year.
peace out.
Every time.
2015.